What's going on, fam? This brother Rob here with another edition in Afrikan Martial Arts. So real quick before we get started, I just noticed that I'm wearing the hoodie today, okay? It is cold outside, so make sure you guys pick up your shirts, hoodies, and things like that at afrikanmartialarts.com. They ship it right to you. All right, let's jump right into this lesson. So what we're talking about today is our rear punch now. We're talking about the cross and how to deliver and throw a proper cross. Now, you know, obviously in Ijikadi and Afrikan martial arts, we throw all kind of punches, whether it's straight, whether it's curved. So a lot of our strikes will look very similar to what you might see in boxing and other forms of combat, right? There's only so many ways in which you can punch, kick, so forth and so on. So there'll be a lot of similarities across martial arts, regardless of where they come from. So same thing here for us. So no matter where you find yourself in terms of position, in terms of our feet, whether I have my right leg forward or I have my left leg forward, or whether I'm neutral here, the mechanics of the punch will be essentially the same. So let's cover this here. I typically fight with my right side forward, but sometimes I'll come neutral, sometimes I'll come with the left side. But from here, what we want to focus on from our fighting posture, wherever your hands happen to be. Again, we're punching from the hand that's in the back, that rear hand. So what's going to happen is I'm actually going to initiate. I'm going to start the punch from my rear hand. My rear hand is actually going to start the punch first. So as my hand goes, then my body is going to rotate and turn into it. So this is a little bit different than what you might see in, boxing and some other forms of, combatives and martial arts, because a lot of times what they're going to tell you to do is to go ahead and rotate first. But once you rotate, that's going to be a sign to your opponent that you're about to punch. As soon as I rotate now, my body's moving and then my hand goes. That's going to be a telltale sign that I'm about to throw this punch. So instead of doing that, what I want to do now is use my hand to go first, and boom, my body will follow up with the power behind my punch. That's essentially effectively how we're going to throw this punch. Now, the key to make your cross functional and effective is to be able to punch with your whole body. I've talked to you guys previously in Ijikadi and Afrikan martial arts how we use the whole body, but we also generate power from the ground. Again, going back to the philosophy in Ijikadi, centered in the principles of Ma'at and Pan-Afrikanism, right? And understanding our connection to the earth, right? You know the Pan-Afrikan flag, the red, black, and green. Well, the green represents the land. The green represents the earth. And so our connection with earth is very important. And so as I push, again, I talked to you guys also about pushing and pivoting here. So essentially when I throw my punch, I'm pushing from my back foot. Now, when I push from my back foot, what does that do to my weight, right? That sends my weight, my torso forward over my front leg. That's what I'm doing here, sending my weight over my front leg. However, the difference with the cross compared to some of your other punches, such as the jab, is that I'm not actually gonna just utilize a pushing action here. In other words, when you throw your cross, I don't want you to push, and I certainly don't want you to lean. So we're not punching like this. We're not punching like this. Don't do that. Most beginners do that. What I want you to focus on, instead of the pushing action, you still push, but I want you to focus on the turning, the rotation, that quick jolt, okay? That quick rotation, that's how we're driving power, by quickly turning our hips from that rear foot. Boom, we quickly turn. We quickly turn, and the punch is gonna go with that rotation, that rotational force. So generally, when you're striking, you're gonna generate force primarily through pushing and or rotating, or both, right? So in this case, we're actually doing both. This is more of a rotational punch rather than a punch that is just driving power from pushing from the ground. So let's show you a few of these here on the bag, and we'll go through it in a little bit more detail. So let me grab my gloves here. So there's a lot of other details that I want to cover. You may think you know how to throw a cross, and you probably have a decent cross, but the key in what we do, particularly because if you're training with me right now, and I assume you are watching this video, you're training online, and so anytime you're training online, the details matter. So don't skip over the small things that you may not think matter. So once I'm here, I'm in my fighting posture, this is where I want to throw the punch from. I want to make sure I get a good full extension. If you're striking on the bag, make sure you can fully extend your strike. Now, granted, if you can fully extend, make sure that you're not, hyperextending or overextending here and, injuring your elbow. Very easy to do that. But I want to get that full range in my punch. So from here, again, I'm going to push pivot and come right back, come right back, come right back, okay? So there's a couple things that I'm doing here as I initiate. The biggest thing I'm focused on is that quick initiation speed. The quicker that you can transfer power over time, that's the stronger your punch is going to be. So I'm trying to deliver force, as much force as I can in the shortest amount of time, and that's going to make my strike a lot harder. So the key to your power is in proper technique, but it's also in speed, how quickly you can deliver that power over time. So that's what we're trying to do here. Notice that I'm keeping that rear hand up, so when I throw the punch, my backhand stays up nice and tight here. And I'm making a nice frame here. So I'm bringing my chin next to my shoulder and also right here. I've got this to defend this side. In other words, there's not a gap here. I don't want a huge gap here because it allows punches to get through. So I'm keeping this nice and tight. Boom, as I throw this punch. Boom, nice and tight. And then immediately bring that hand back to defend. Because always know that your opponent gets a vote, right? Just because if you touch him, believe me, he is going to want to hit you back as soon as he can. And so you want to make sure you retract the hand, bring the hand back. Those are your main fundamentals in the cross. So just to review, you're going to push pivot from that back foot. Make sure you rotate that foot. In other words, your toe should face the target, heel facing away. Make sure you get a good rotation. The more you rotate, the more your hips are going to rotate. As you do that rotation, because you're pushing, you're going to push and a pivot from that back foot. That pushing is going to send your weight forward over your lead leg, your front leg here. Just make sure you're not doing a lunge. I don't want you lunging or squatting in this position here, but you're just sinking your weight down, sitting on the punch. The term I like to use, sitting on your punch from here. Boom, with that rotation, extending the arm and coming right back to that position you started from. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about some various different ways that you can add footwork to this as well, and also how you can vary up your punch.
The purpose of our organization is to start right here in Harlem, which has the largest concentration of people of African descent that exists anywhere on this earth. There are more Africans here in Harlem than exist in any city on the African continent, because that's what you and I are, Africans.